Podcast is proudly powered by Battleborn Batteries. Let the power of lithium take you on your journeys across the outdoor world. Battleborn Batteries designs and assembles the industry's top choice for lithium-ion batteries right here in the USA. Reliable, safe, and long-lasting, Battleborn makes for the sustainable and lightweight drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries. Ready to make the switch to lithium and the switch to green energy? All batteries are in stock now. Shop today at battlebornbatteries.com.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Lines In Live, powered by Battleborn Batteries and presented by Primary Tackle. With me tonight, as always, is good friend and co-host and owner of Primary Tackle, David Best, in the house. And I'm your host, Justin Patrick. Guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. We missed you all last week. We were supposed to have Drew Gregory on, and some things slipped through the cracks. There was some kind of protest with the tournament. I don't know if the results have come out yet, whether or not he was cleared or not, but I don't know. So anyways, we haven't heard back from him, so we're rolling forward. But anyways, we got a good show for you guys tonight. We're going to have Josh King come on. He is the state champion of the Kayak Angler Society of Tennessee. David, we didn't get to fish that one this year, but I know you always like hearing about Kentucky Lake. That is your baby. So I'm excited to hear how what the fishing's been like out there, what it was like out there this past weekend. And we know we got the KBF National Championship going on out there this week. I believe that starts Friday. I need to double check that. But yeah, I think we'll ask Josh when he comes on, but I think it's a 3-day tournament this year. But anyway, so that's going to be exciting. I don't think they've been there since 2018, back when we had 800 plus anglers. And you still could get away with not seeing anybody on that 160,000 acre impoundment.
It's such a humongous place. There's just so many different little coves and bays, and it's such a sprawling place. I mean, the tournament that we're talking about, I mean, literally, I was looking at the off limits. I mean, you could fish from Clarksville all the way up Barkley, Cumberland River, all the way up through the dams, back down to Kentucky Lake, all the way to I-40. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to get away from everybody.
I know. When you throw in Barkley, I don't know the acreage on that one, but I mean, that's massive. I mean, they've done that for all the tournaments. You know, you guys know that throughout the years. Most tournaments, at least most big tournaments, your Bassmasters, FLWs, and all that, they've all been able to run over there to Barkley and whatnot. And sometimes, that pays out. I don't know if Josh is fishing the national championship this weekend, so we won't ask for waypoints this time. We don't do that here. But yeah, so it's gonna be fun. Tournament season is kind of dwindling down. I do want to give a big shout out to our buddy Jimmy Washam. He's fishing the Bassmaster Open Central Division on Sam Rayburn this week, and he's sitting in second in AOY points for the Central Division. And I think if he hangs up there in that top 3, he's going to get a bid into the elites.
Yeah,
and that's going to be exciting.
That would be.
Yeah. I'm also pulling from for Nick LeBrun. I like Nick. I think he's fifth in points right now in the Central Division, but still a great opportunity to move up in the standings and get in an elite bid. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out. I'm gonna be watching pretty closely that one. You got to have that one. I know you'll probably have that one going on in the shop.
Yeah, what we will. What we'll have is we'll try to have as much of that going on as we can this weekend. And
yep. So a couple of things I just want to cover. Anybody that's looking to go out and fish Herb Parsons, that's our local lake right here in the West Tennessee area, or one of them, local spot. Most people like to venture off to during the week. We get a couple of hours in on the water. It is still really low. I was out there this past weekend. You can get through the channel. They're working on it for one of the Bill Dance Signature Series lakes. But David and I were just talking offline, and he has mentioned that, or has heard that that's going to be possibly put on hold for a little while, and that water level is potentially going to get brought back up. But it is very low. I would say probably in the ballpark of 8 to 10 feet low right now. I had to basically have my fins, tucked up underneath the boat and kind of just flutter my way through there. So, but if it gets any lower than that, you could probably still drag your kayak through and get out there to the main lake. I do not have much of a fishing report. I saw some that were up real shallow. Any kind of cover that's still visible or still, that has any water on it, cast to it, little jig, little shaky head or something like that in there, probably get you a bit. I saw a big one up real shallow. So they're in there. I did not have my graph, or my battery was dead, David. So I was hoping to get out there and find that hole where they're all stacked up in.
Yeah.
But,
there's one out there. There's got to be one or two.
There's got to be, dude. One brush pile in that creek channel or something where they're just all hanging out right now. You could have a heyday on it.
Yeah. I'm sure there is.
Find that.
Yeah, it would be. They are. Been some challenges with everything. They had an issue with the siphon. They can't really get the water level down where they want to get it to. So, in talking to Damon the other day, they very well may let the water level come back up for a little while till they get a few things worked out. Promote the guys getting back out there on the water and getting to fish. I mean, because like you said, right now you can barely get a kayak in there. You definitely can't get a boat in there. So there's a few little halts on a few things that they would hope that they were already going to be able to get done. So we'll see. All that could change. You're dealing with the state, so it varies from time to time. There are a few other things going on out there too, as far as for those of y'all that don't know, Bobby Fowler, the guy who runs all those TWA lakes in West Tennessee, passed away last weekend. They're going to be losing, of course, that concession contract is done. So they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with concessionaires for 2023, which, I mean, timing wise, it's right at the end of the season. They can close the stores. It's not a big deal. They are running out at Glen Springs through the 31st. They're running all that stuff they had out there at 25% off.
Okay.
So, not helping me at all, but I'm going to say you can go up there and you can get some great deals on some Strike King and some other products that they have up there in that tackle shop. So,
yeah,
if you want to take a drive out there, go fishing a little bit, buy a few pieces, you're going to be helping Miss Joy. So, collect some of that money that that's sitting out there in that shop for her. So,
yeah. I want to bring up this graphic real quick, before we get Josh on here. I want to give a shout out to our buddy Matt Skelton. Finished in 10th in the state championship this weekend.
Matt.
He was in, I believe, second place going into day two. And from the look of it, I think he had his full limit on day one. I guess he just couldn't upgrade on day two. The limits were pretty tight up there at the top. I mean, Josh with 88 and a quarter, 85 and a quarter was the next. So it was second place, and then it was pretty tight from there. 84, 82, 82, 82, 81, 81. And just kind of typical for what we've been seeing on Kentucky Lake here in the past couple of years. But anyways, we're going to place real quick, coming from our sponsor, Primary Tackle. This is going to be our Primary Tackle product of the week.
Hey guys, for this week's product showcase,
We got Big John spinnerbaits back in stock. You know, the 3/8 ounce makes a great little school and fish bait. Quick tip, just rub that right up against any kind of cover, boat docks, whatever you're fishing around. And then, you know, our little PT swim minnows. I love this little alewife color on the back of the spinnerbait. It just gives it that nice translucent look that they can't see real well. Hope you like it. If anything we can help you with, let us know.
All right, we greatly appreciate Primary Tackle. Go and see David up there at the shop. Get you some Big John spinnerbaits. Man, that bite should really be on fire right now with these temps. Man, they're dropping, getting cold. But that sounds to me like Lippis Crane bait time. I'm really excited about that. So, David, anything else you want to throw out there, man, before we get Josh on?
No, I mean, come out, see us. Gonna be a crazy weekend here. I'm gonna be back and forth between the Agri Center with Holiday Market, but you know, we got a great stock of kayaks still. Got a lot of tackle. Still working on getting some more reels in here. Got a good selection of rods between the JB3 and Little Miami, Toadfish, and some of the other stuff that we have in here right now. We're going to be running some, if I can get some of these reels I'm trying to get, we're going to be running some combo specials for Christmas. And we'll start running a lot of Christmas sales starting November 1st. Really would like to get, you know, some stuff going for those of y'all that have looked and bought the mystery bags in the past. Those will be hitting the floor on November 1 as well for Christmas. So come out and see us. I mean, it's been a little slow, so I'd love to see some faces at least. Even if you don't spend any money, come visit.
Yeah, go up there and talk him up. He gets bored up there at the store between rigging kayaks and selling sweaters.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I had to rig the rudder lines on a PA-12 this week.
Oh, man.
I hate rigging rudder lines.
Yeah. I haven't done it, but I've been so fortunate and glad that I've never had to do it either.
Bless have mercy.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, I love Hobie. They got some really smart engineers. But God bless, there's got to be an easier way to do those.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. That's got to be a pain. Well, let's we kept him waiting long enough. Let's get him in here.
All right.
What is up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Man, good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Well,
glad
first
to be on here. So
yeah, man. Thanks for jumping on. You know, we're always really excited to talk to anybody that does well at Kentucky Lake. That's a lake we all really enjoy fishing. Our West Tennessee Bass Hackers guys, you know, they have multiple tournaments there throughout the year. But I wanted to say first and foremost, you know, congratulations on being a part of an elitist group who can actually catch fish on Kentucky Lake right now.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a blessing for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to you tell me the name of your club, because I was looking at it on the K.A.S.T state page, the K.A.S.T organization page. You guys, man, y'all are Army of Three, or at least y'all were this at the championship.
Yeah, we were a small crew out there. Tri-City Kayak Anglers. We're out of East Tennessee.
Okay, is that further east of Douglas, or?
A little further east. Yeah, we have like South Holston Lake, Watauga Lake, Boom Lake, and I think those three are the biggest ones that we primarily fish. We're pretty about an hour away from Cherokee Lake as well, so
okay.
it's not too bad.
Yeah, man, you're out there though, two opposite ends of the state.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, you got. Sorry, David. What were you saying?
Yeah, he's about as far out into the state as you can possibly get. I mean, he's out there by Bristol and Bristol and Kingsport, Johnson City. I mean, you can't get much further. You're just about out of the state of Tennessee at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
So have you guys? Has it always been a smaller club, or have you guys? Have y'all just formed here in the past couple of years? What's the history there?
No, we've actually been around. I don't know exactly how long, to be exact, but I do know that Kentucky Lake was a bit of a drive for most of us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I will say that It was about, I think, 7 hours, right, roughly.
What
So
I would
yeah.
guess.
Yeah. That's about my limit too. And I've got to at least have a couple of days of practice to justify that drive.
Yeah, for
But,
sure.
well, did some of you guys just have to? They just didn't want to make the drive, or was
I would assume so. I know
Okay.
some of them had to work still too.
okay?
It's kind of hard to get off for those couple of days, but
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, congratulations again. Tell us a little bit about you. I don't think we've crossed paths. I didn't fish. Neither David or I fished the championship this year. I didn't fish as many of the club tournaments, so I didn't qualify. But tell us a little bit about you, man. Interested to know you.
okay. Let's see where to start. I've been probably kayak fishing since 2016. I think that would be the year. I started out in a couple feel-free kayak with a lure 11.5 and then moved up eventually to a feel-free Dorado whenever we were allowed to do pedal systems. And eventually now switched over to a Hobie BOS, or not Hobie BOS, a Hobie 360. And I love it. Love that thing. But I've been a fitness coach for about 10 years now, and that's kind of what I do besides fish.
Okay.
And it's something both of these sports I really enjoy doing, and but yeah. So
Well, did you? So when they changed the rule, see that was one of the big reasons I've always enjoyed kayak fishing is the athleticism of it and whatnot, the exercise you get. I'm sure being a fitness coach, you understand, you probably get that too. But when they made the rule change to add a motor, were you like, yeah, I'm gonna get one, or nah, I still like pedaling?
it was a big deal. So me and my dad, we both he actually fished the Kentucky event with us or with me, and whenever we switched to the 360, we were kind of debating on, do we go with a 180 and get a motor, or do we go 360 and get live scope or something like that. And we both really enjoyed the exercise of kayak fishing, and we went with the 360 and then live scope on that stuff. So
Okay.
for me, I don't know exactly how far you may travel in your kayak or anything, but the Hobie BOS on Chickamauga over the summer, I think it was like June.
Mm-hmm.
I covered 42 and a half miles in 41 hours. So I don't know exactly if that's far, but that's far for me. I was pretty sore afterwards, but
yeah, I bet, man. I was fortunate enough. I probably didn't have to pedal, but maybe 4 or 5 miles the whole time. My spot was pretty close to the ramp, so
yeah.
But
So
David,
I did Broken Bow. I did like 40 miles in 4 days.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard on you. But I'm like you. I'm in an outback. I don't have a motor on my boat, and that's the whole reason that I started kayak fishing was to pedal. But then I got my partner over here who loves his trolling motor. Who, when he can't use it, he's awful tired at the end of the day.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
getting a little out of
yeah,
shape.
I've slacked off on the. Yeah, I slacked off on the working out aspect here in the past year or so. So it hurt. Yeah, it does hurt after a full day of pedaling nowadays. But but the motor helps when it's there. It serves a really good purpose when you can use it.
For sure.
Well, I've heard that debate before, or the same answer before. People said had that same kind of idea of going either that route, 180 with the motor, or the 360 is the motor, and add something else. So your history on Kentucky Lake, was this your first time, or? And I want. Okay. Oh, I want to run this by you. Are you fishing the national championship this weekend?
I am not.
Okay. All right. So David, you can ask him his waypoints. He probably won't give them to you.
I don't really know if I actually have any waypoints, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's always just a standing joke. But well, interesting stuff, man. I mean, what was your first impression of Kentucky Lake? Did you get any practice in, or?
Yeah, so we were allowed to fish one day beforehand, about 12 hours, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And me and Dad, we pre-fished 2 ramps. We probably should have tried a third one, but we lucked up, and on the second one, I found the honey hole pretty much. Yeah, the first ramp we pulled up to, wasn't expecting too much, to be honest. I've watched, did my research on Google Maps and such, and watched some YouTube videos of what the lake looks like and everything. But I was not expecting, whenever we got there, to see how low the water was.
Yeah.
The first ramp we pulled up to was filled with bait fish. So we were like, had high hopes we were gonna catch something there, and ended up struggling for a long time. Ended up catching one 15-inch fish, and we ended up switching ramps, and went over to Barkley, and found a spot, and kind of a wind-blown pocket, I guess you would say. The winds were like 20 to 30 miles an hour, and started seeing some shad pop up, and threw in there, caught a white bass, threw back in there, caught a drum, threw back in there, caught a 12-inch fish. I was okay. So at least I knew that there were some fish here. Went up the bank a little bit, same thing. The wind's kind of blowing in. Threw up there, 14 and a half. Came across the dock, same thing, wind blowing in there, 16. I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave these fish alone, knowing that I could probably come back and catch a small limit. And sure enough, on day one, whenever I went out there, the big ones were apparently biting. I still had to weed through a lot of white bass and drums, but yeah.
Well, I'm going to pull up your fish here. First thing that stands out, that 20-incher right there.
Yeah,
I know that one was exciting.
It was very exciting. It was so everything that I had to do was involved moving baits, like a jerk bait, crank bait, lipless crank. I heard you talk about it was about that season to throw a lipless crankbait, and then yeah, whenever it hit, I was like, oh man, it's a big one, and I was like,
it's a 12-incher.
Yeah. I was like, man, this is a little bigger than normal, and I kind of got a first glance at it because it came up and then kind of swiped. And I was like, man, do I have a big drum or something? And then it got close to the boat, and I was like, oh no, that's a big smallmouth. I gotta
oh man, no kidding.
Yeah. So.
Dang. So you got your that was on Barkley that you got that on.
Mm-hmm. And then somebody said it was rare to get smallmouth on Barkley. I don't know.
Yeah, David, you're probably a little more.
Yeah, I've got a couple of licks in Barkley. I catch some pretty good smallmouth on. But it's not as common as you see. In Barkley, you have to be, if you're going to catch smallmouth, you really are going to be more up towards the Cumberland River, further up, further south. I don't know where you are on Barkley. That's still a pretty big size body of water. I've got a couple of licks up there close to Catawba, that area, that I catch some pretty good smallmouth out of. I had a really good BFL back in the early 2000s that I had a 3 or 4, 19-inch smallmouth in that event. And so, I mean, you'll catch them there, but it is not common. It is deemed to be more of a largemouth fishery just because it's so much shallow water, so many flats and that kind of stuff up and down through Barkley.
Yeah, especially the way he's kind of describing it, like a pocket, windblown pocket.
Yeah, sounds
not really so much off on the river. So finish that or second with the 18 and a quarter. That was another smallmouth.
Another smallmouth, yeah. So that one actually came off of a topwater, a little spook.
Dude, that is a chunky smallmouth too.
It's very, very, very chunky. Yeah, it was an insane bite. same thing. The wind was kind of still blowing in that pocket, and literally all I did was just go back and forth all day long. And
Wow.
yeah, he came up and it was like a great white shark going after a seal or something out in the ocean. It was crazy. It was nuts.
Yeah, I imagine that one went airborne. That probably got your
Yeah.
adrenaline going. Man,
For sure.
That's got some shoulders on it, man. So 17, that's another really, healthy looking fish right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then 16 and a half, little slender guy, but he'll measure. Man, those fish look beat up. Their tails look like almost like they've been done spawning.
Mm-hmm.
And then another 16 and a half. Man, really good bag, dude. That's a good bag anywhere, but right now in Kentucky Lake, I mean, obviously it wins it wins the championship, but that's incredible. Let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
When going into this tournament, I know you refresh my memory. We only get that one day, for practice. Had you done any pre-practicing or anything like that, before the cutoff time?
No. Whenever it was tournament day, pretty much, or the tournament weekend, that was our time to go up.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I said, I just spent a lot of time on Google Maps, Garmin Active Captain with the Navionics there, and again watching a bunch of YouTube videos, just trying to get a feel of what the lake looked like.
Yeah. So when I don't know how much you traveled fishing these tournaments, but when you go to a new body of water, do you take the approach of trying to go off of like what's done well historically on that lake, or do you try to take what you're good at and apply it to whichever lake that you're going to? Try to find something within your realm of expertise, whatever it may be.
So that's a great question. I do take into effect of what has been working in the past and such, but I keep that in the back of my head, and again, just go and fish my strength. Like for me, if I could, I would have loved to fish every single dock, whether it's flipping a little crawl bait, or skipping a swim jig or a chatterbait in between those dock posts. But like I said, whenever I got there, I was like, "Oh, that plan was it ain't happening there." So
yeah. So that's probably something that you look for quite a bit back home on your lakes, skipping docks and stuff like that. I mean, I can't argue with it there. That's a really good pattern to look for.
Well, truthfully, it's more or less flipping. That's pretty much what I like to do the most. But in previous tournaments, like on Chickamauga, Loudon, Watts Bar, those seem to be how I can catch some fish pretty good.
Yeah. Well, David, you on the opposite end of the spectrum, you're going to throw a bush pig wherever you go, no matter what.
But you can still flip a Texas rig creature bait. I mean, and that was going to actually be one of my questions since he mentioned flipping. Do you do more plastics, or do you more jigs, or what is your preference there?
I'm a big plastics guy. I like to throw a Texas rig. I like to throw an angler tungsten, and Guggen baits, bandito bug. That's those two of my favorites right there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we always pull David's leg on here because wherever we go, he travels around with me as well. And wherever we go, you don't have to ask David what he's doing. You already know what he's doing. He's going to throw a Texas rig bush hawk.
I mean,
they're either buying that or they're not.
I've won thousands upon thousands of dollars over the last 30 years throwing that little Texas rig creature bait.
Yeah.
I got BFL trophies. I've got charity trophies. I got, any tournament I do well in, it played some part.
Mm-hmm. So, I always start off with my Texas rig, and if they're not buying it, then I'm like lost.
Yeah. Well, what do I do now? I guess I go home.
Same. No, I mean, we can catch them on other things sometimes, but it's a go-to.
Well, what baffles me about it, David, is you own a tackle shop, and I
still
would have thought
7 baits.
And the same set of baits, yeah. So that tells you something. Well, but that's awesome, man. Really impressive win. How many other state championships have you have you fished in before this one?
So this would be my fourth one that
Okay.
I've fished. Each year, thank the Lord that I've progressively gotten a little bit closer to a win. And like I said, it was just like a magical moment for this year, and I'm still kind of letting it all soak in. So
Enjoy it.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, Tennessee is, as well. I mean, I'm sure Tennessee is home to some of the best anglers. I mean, it's home to probably, one of the states that has the most kayak anglers in it. It's kind of one of those states where a lot of the kayak, fishing roots started here. And I mean, everybody that wins these tournaments, man, it's a big deal. I mean, in my opinion, at least, and I'm sure it is most other people. Because I mean, you're fishing against some of the best anglers in the country that live right here in Tennessee.
For sure.
My hat's off to you, man. I've gotten close. I had a 4th place finish last year, and that's as close as I've come to it. But yeah, did they have do you know who is hosting the state championship next year? Did they mention that at all?
I think it's Nashville. I don't remember their kayak club's name.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I'll have to look that up. But
yeah,
I believe it's Nashville.
Well, it's kind of like if you're in that inner circle with the Steve Owens and them, they all kind of know like pretty quick. Well, I think they announced, or after they had their directors meetings afterward, that's kind of when they decide, okay, who's going to do it next year. But then most of us, we don't hear about till later on. So, well, man, you mentioned the Hoey BOS. Do you travel around and do any of those?
I do not. Well, this year was my first year branching out and exploring, kind of getting the experience there. And the Chickamauga event was the first one that I branched out to. It was kind of closer for me, and felt pretty confident on that lake. I like that lake a lot. So I don't get to fish it much, but I like to fish it.
Yeah. So this actually qualifies you for the Bassmaster Kayak Classic next year, correct? I think
I'm not 100%. I'm not sure on that.
I know for sure you qualify for the Tennessee Bass Nation Championship, but I want to. Maybe I'm wrong, because those are two different associations. Tennessee Bass Nation, or the Bass Nations, are separate from the Bassmaster. So maybe that's not connected. But for whatever reason, I thought that it was. I hope that hopefully that you are, man, because then you'd be on Chickamauga cool. Again. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah, I would have to check probably with Steve Owens and all that stuff. But yeah, that would be really cool.
Man, that'd be sweet. Yeah. And then you got a lot of time to practice. You live a little bit closer to it. So let's talk about your club a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I know you said your dad's a part of it. How many anglers do you guys traditionally have fishing in y'all's events? I mean, I hear we average about maybe 15 or so, 15 to 20, per event.
We probably average 10 to 15, I'd say.
Yeah.
It just depends on the lake, to be honest. Some people don't like certain lakes, so I'm not gonna fish that. But they like one other lake, then they show up. So it's kind of a hit and miss kind of deal.
I got you. That's pretty typical. I mean, the central area of Tennessee, you got. I mean, some of these clubs, they could have their own almost kind of statewide trail, I mean, they got quite a few anglers and stuff. It seems like on both of the opposite ends, especially out here, Pickwick is 2 hours away, Kentucky Lake 2 hours away. We got smaller lakes in between. I'm sure if you fished the state championships, you probably made the trip out here a few years ago. But it's one of those deals where it's a great platform for anglers to get involved in. Everybody that comes up to David's shop, buys a kayak, they want to get involved. This is just one of those. It's a great route to go for new aspiring anglers that want to learn, get involved with other people and stuff. I mean, I've really enjoyed, fishing with West Tennessee bass kayakers. I mean, those guys have become like family. It's always a good time, especially, when you got guys that you can depend on, like a Mark Davis, that you know he's going to beat you to the ramp every single morning. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
He could be at the ramp before I get out of bed.
Yeah, no kidding. David, you
Yeah, for
mentioned
sure.
you had a.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. That's all right. You finish your shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the community that kayak anglers create. I mean, it's like a family for everybody. You know, even when you go the Tennessee state championship or something like that for K.A.S.T, everybody's so nice, so friendly. I mean, it really is just a big group of great people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. David, did you have any other questions around his tournament?
I did, but one of them kind of.
Kind
So I noticed that you culled like 7 times, which you didn't see a lot of that. Were you catching a lot of fish besides the 12 or so that you actually weighed, or?
I probably caught over the weekend, day 1 and day 2. I probably caught about 16 fish or so. Just on day 2, I mean, if it was a 10 fish limit, I'd probably have another 75, 80 inches.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't get another upgrade besides that 16 and a half.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, one of the things that we're really still trying to judge around here a little bit is, Kentucky Lake's been through a little bit of a lull. So anytime I get to talk to anybody that's fished it, I like to see how many times they fished it for and where they think the lake is versus where it was before. With the fact that I saw that you had 7 coals in there, I just was hoping maybe you'd caught more fish than that, because it has been in kind of a downward piece. But I know a lot of us are beginning. I know Mark Menendez made a post the other day with a couple of fish, and he was talking about having caught 50 or 60 good quality keepers at Kentucky Lake this weekend.
Wow.
So that says something, and that's a good thing to hear, because we just haven't been catching the great numbers over there that we used to catch. I mean, it used to be one of the best lakes in the country by far. So I'm anxious to see if it's going on a better uptrend. And we've talked to a few people that fished different events there this year and have caught them pretty good. So I'm trying to get everybody to judge as to what they think the lake looked like.
Gotcha. Yeah. On day 2, the wind shut down pretty much majority of the day. So those fish weren't as active in that spot. I actually went out to the main channel and fought some waves from like those yachts and everything like that.
Right.
I found a big deep bluff, and I saw some fish suspended on it, but I couldn't get them to bite. I didn't know exactly if they were actual bass or what. But I tried to fish for those, and then spent about 3 hours there. Went back to the bank and noticed that the wind picked back up a little bit. It was probably about 5 or 10 miles an hour, and sure enough, those bait fish were popping up again, and it was on after that too. So
there you go.
Nice. Did you see very many Asian carp in the area that you're fishing?
I'm assuming because they were so big that they were on down imaging. I saw a lot of them, especially in some of the areas that I would think that bass are.
Yeah.
And then on live scope, I saw some big blobs on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
good bet.
I don't even know what. Huh?
That's a good bet then.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him out there, man. It was like I was in Panther Creek, and it was the first time I'd ever seen Asian carp, on a graph. I didn't know what to think. I mean, they just covered my graph. I mean, I was like, dude, this is the jackpot. I'm about to win this tournament. And, lo and behold, I didn't know at the time, but those were all Asian carp. It was insane. I mean, they were thick in there. I mean, just forever. As far as you could see from, one end of the pocket to the other. I mean, they're just so thick in there. But I've heard, like David was talking about, some positivity coming out of that. They've had a big effort, going in there trying to remove a lot of them. They found a marketplace to harvest, Asian carp and sell them and stuff like that. So, man, I hope we continue to see, good fish like you pulled out of there. It's refreshing to hear that and see that. It'd be great for that lake to, become, that well-known, fabled fishery again. And I'm sure we'll get a really good look at it this weekend with the national championship going on there. I don't know how many people they have fishing it. I know that they opened up pretty much anybody that even said KBF throughout 2022 was qualified for the championship. But I didn't. David, you had to actually just submit one fish or something like that to get in, I believe.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So we didn't even do that. We didn't even fish one in KBFs. But well, man, Josh, what is from this point forward? What are you looking forward to next year? Kind of what's your game plan, your thoughts? What's next for you?
My plan is next year is to fish the Tennessee Bass Nations and fish as many of those as I can. I fished mainly, I think, 2 events, the championship and the one that they had on Douglas, I believe it was.
Okay.
And I qualified through there and fished the championship. So next year I plan to fish as many of the Tennessee Bass Nations as I can. Might not be able to fish as many local events, but still try to be up there in the points to make it to K.A.S.T.
Yeah. Are you going to make it to Del Hollow?
That's the plan. Yeah,
awesome.
That's the plan.
Man, that was a huge event last year. I mean, for December time, 100+ anglers showed up. That was pretty awesome. I suspect
I've never been there, so
it was my first time, and David's been there quite a bit. But man, golly, that place is awesome. I hope we get. Yeah, man. I hope the water levels are a little bit closer to normal. Last year, what was it, about 20 feet low, something like that, David?
Something like that. It was pretty low. I mean,
yeah.
It was still a fun event.
But that's good, man. It's looking forward to seeing how you do next year in the Tennessee Bass Nations. That's a great trail to be a part of as well. I wanted to ask you this, since you kind of mentioned, you're going to kind of take a step forward and not so much leave the club, but fish that that higher competition club. What's that decision like for you? Kind of how we were talking about. You kind of get real close with people. You become kind of like a family and stuff like that. For you, and I know a lot of people, when they make that step forward, it's because they want to become a better angler. They want to learn, they want to grow and stuff like that. What's it been like for you being a part of the club, fishing with the same guys, fishing on the same lakes, stuff like that for, however many years you've been doing it? Do you think that, what's your opinion on, branching out? Do you think it's, it's valuable to you? Because you got a lot more bigger lakes and stuff like that out there versus here. But kind of how was that decision for you, deciding to move forward?
Branching out, I think that it's for sure going to make me a better angler as far as just learning and how to adapt on the lake, like on the spot. Because, you're only able to fish so many days ahead of time for practice, unless you're able to make multiple trips to that lake over, before the event. So you have to learn on the spot pretty quick and adapt. You can't be, stubborn and always flip a Texas rig all the time, but you kind of have to adapt on that. But
yes, you can.
But so back to me being a coach, I competed in CrossFit a lot, and I made a professional team called the National Pro Grid League for DC Brawlers, and I went and did basically a month of competition with them, and just being with those caliber of athletes. When I came back, I was a different athlete at the time. So same here, being with so many different people, you'll definitely learn a lot, and for sure see the value of fishing these bigger events, talking with other anglers, seeing what they're doing differently than what you're doing, seeing how they're looking at things. There's just a lot of knowledge out there that you can't just be learning it on your own, fishing the same lakes with the same people all the time.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love fishing. So, I mean, like, even the worst weathers, I'm out there.
Yeah, that's I'm the same way, man. I don't mind getting out there in the cold and stuff. And the reason I wanted to ask you that, I like to ask, different guests, questions that can help, that can bring some educational content to the show. It's kind of something we try to, focus on, for the most part here. And so, when you go out and you fish the same bodies of water, the same lakes, stuff like that, you fish with the same guys, you get really complacent. And, I'm kind of like, like you said, when you go out and you fish some of the bigger stuff, you're forced to get outside of your comfort zone and whatnot, and, and experience new lakes. You really, you learn how to adapt and, and grow in your angling experiences, because you're not doing the same thing. We're so prone as human beings to want to go and say, well, man, there was that one lay down I caught that 6-pounder off of. That's where I'm starting,
For sure.
But sometimes that messes up. But I want to ask you one more question. You being a fitness guy, I've always been curious. Kind of want, David, I was going to talk to you about this, getting your fitness coach on here and talking to him about this. But seeing as how we got a guy right here, is there any kind of just milk you for all your worth right now?
You're good.
But is there any kind of training that you do specifically to help you, being in a kayak, or any kind of stretches or anything like that that maybe you could offer out there to our listeners?
Yeah. So what I do is I do CrossFit. What CrossFit is constantly varied high intensity functional movements. So you're always squatting, you're always picking things up with like a deadlift, pressing, doing some sort of pulling movements. So all of those definitely strengthen up your hips, which you'll need if you are pedaling. All this upper body strength for paddling if you're still paddling, especially in the rivers and such. And then two, with it being constantly varied and high intensity, your cardiovascular is going to be up there so that you can sustain, over a 2-day tournament, and be able to still cover the water that you need to.
Yeah, not relying on your trolling motor.
Yeah, you can't push the button, spot lock or something like that.
KVD's got a trolling motor, man.
But as far as like stretches and stuff, I know that, or for me anyways, I've dealt with some elbow pain, like tennis elbow or golfer's elbow.
Yeah.
And really stretching out your triceps, so in the back of your arms, your lats, because you're always making the same cast, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. And two, if you're one like me, sometimes you get a little anxious and you grip your rod and reel a little tight. You got to stay loose and all that stuff too. So
you're not getting mad at the fish out there, are you?
No. I just hate to lose one of those. Don't come easy.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's good stuff, man. I don't want to sound like a noob or anything, but not as pertaining to like building muscle or anything, but more for like muscle recovery. Do you take any supplements? Like when you're out on a 2-3 day tournament, something like that. Anything to kind of help you recover?
Yeah, for sure. I get made fun of sometimes because I'll take some protein bars to eat out with me versus eating potato chips or crackers or Pop-Tarts or anything like that. Making sure I get some sort of protein that consists of a little bit of carbs and a little bit of fats and enough calories out there to kind of keep me energized to continue the day. But whenever I come back from fishing stuff, I typically take whey protein afterwards as well.
Okay. Are you a believer in the BCAAs at all?
Not really. I believe that you can get the same out of the Gatorade.
Okay.
Obviously, BCAAs doesn't have the sugars and everything, but with you out there pedaling, sweating, you need those electrolytes to replenish all that. So,
not beer, David.
Hey, I will say, beer after a hard day of pedaling, it's not bad. It actually helps recover the body a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the carbs in the beer. Yeah.
We were just.
Thank you, Josh.
What were you just saying before we started the show, David? Like you're justifying your beer or something like that with what?
Yeah, because
There's another reason.
there's another. I'll add that to the list of reasons as to why I justify having a beer today.
Yeah.
I love it, man. We're gonna be next term at Del Hollow is gonna be a case sitting on the table when we get back to the house.
Well, I'm not going to go to Del Hollow.
Oh man, we're gonna talk about that.
I got a shop to run. I got staffing issues that weekend. If it had been the weekend before, I'd probably been fine. But
I got you. Well, we'll talk offline. Josh, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. Hope to see you, at some of these tournaments coming up. Tennessee Bass Nation, stuff like that. And any closing words? Anybody you want to thank or anything like that before we go?
Yeah, appreciate you all for having me on your podcast. Well, first off, I want to thank my wife for allowing me to fish these events and travel a little bit. I know that sometimes it gets a little annoying that I'm fishing a lot, but I also want to thank my parents, everybody who supported me, my sponsors, Arc Rods, Guggen Baits, Angler Tungsten, and Mr. Tacklebox.
Okay.
And Monster Marine lithium batteries, because without those, I mean, my live scope wouldn't be working out there.
So was the live scope, did that play a big factor for you in this win?
It played a factor as far as finding fish, but my side imaging is what really helped me, because the wind was so bad I couldn't still cast, reel, adjust my live scope. So side imaging, I would see those Asian carp on there. I would assume that they were Asian carp, but I would also see the big balls of bait fish and then the bass underneath them. So I would cast in that area, and sure enough, there they were. So
awesome, good deal. Well, man, again, thank you for coming on, and we will we'll catch up with you down the road, man.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind, if you all want to follow me on social media, Instagram is my biggest, but it's at King Bassing.
At King Bassing. Okay. All right, man. Well, we'll take a look at you there, and good luck to you in your future, and we look forward to following you along and seeing how you progress.
All right, thank you.
All right, man.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
See ya.
Awesome stuff, man. It's good. It's good to see Kentucky Lake doing well, doing better, and it's good to see some smallmouth in some unlikely areas too. What do you think that says, though? Do you think that says that these fish they're moving around more, looking more for that habitat, getting away from the Asian carp type stuff, or?
I think the Asian carp tend to make a lot of the bass very pelagic, because if they move into an area, they're going to move out. We've seen that on the Mississippi River for 30 years. So, I mean, I think that's exactly what that says. I was glad to see he was catching some smallmouth. It really makes me wonder, from the description he gave. I think I know pretty close where he's at. So
no, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
That man did not give up anything. He said a windblown pocket with some docks. You don't know where that's at.
But he also mentioned some yachts and some other things, and that really
a yacht going up and down the river.
And we listed 2 or 3 areas where he give a paddle to too. So I think I got an idea. I got 2 places in mind.
I'll let you ask him offline.
And the fact that he's catching smallmouth too, that really lends to it's only a couple places, because they're up and down Barkley. There's only maybe 5 locations that I know smallmouth are frequent.
No. So either way, it's pretty cool that a combination bag won that tournament. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And there's those are some healthy smallmouth too. Good grief, they've been eating.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need. Somebody asked. They asked you a question on here, David.
I saw it about the grass.
Yeah.
Yes, the grass being the lack of grass on Kentucky Lake in the last 5 years has been a major contributing factor to how poorly it is fished over the last 5 to 10 years. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, yes, as David Walker said, they have been spraying it at Pickwick, and it's we saw that in the BFL this last weekend. They had a regional there. The weights were horrendous.
Yeah, they were.
18 pounds was leading it after day one, not even 18, 17 and some change. That's a contributing factor. I mean, there's a bunch of factors sitting there right now. Now, there is some grass up and down Kentucky Lake, but you're just not seeing the topped out grass. You're not seeing those places where bait fish can go hide, the smaller bass can go hide, and can keep from being predated on. And so, and that's the piece that needs to happen. And so that's a concern. I mean, it is definitely. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's what really consolidates, bait fish and everything, gives fish good habitat. That's why you see areas like, Pickwick Lake and stuff like that, Chickamauga, where tournaments are just constantly won out of the same areas. It's because there's grass there, more than likely. But any other questions do we miss on here?
I was trying to look through just a second ago.
I wanted to say what's up to everybody in the comments. Thank you guys for tuning in with us tonight. David, Chuck, Walker, Chuck and Mark, a bunch of others. Good to see you guys. I know you guys would have liked to bring home that paddle this past weekend, but you guys did pretty good. Finished third, I think, in overall out of all the clubs. So, but tough lake, man. Tough lake to go get it done on. Hopefully that's just not the case in the future. Hopefully we start to see some more 88s and 90-inch bags and stuff like that, come out of these two lakes. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors, Battleborn Batteries and Primary Tackle. Be sure to go and check out those two companies. If you're in the market for a lithium battery, they got a 24 volt, 50 amp hour for your NK 180s. They got a 12 volt, 50, 75 amp hour, and a 100 amp hour on their website, battlebornbatteries.com. And if you're in the market for some tackle, rods, reels, or some clothing and apparel, be sure to stop in at S.Y. Wilson and Primary Tackle right there in Arlington, Tennessee. Go and see David. And with that, guys, we're going to sign out. David, any closing thoughts?
Come see us. We it's going to be, the next 2 months are going to be a fun, interesting place around here. So if you don't come see me, at least send your wife to come do some Christmas shopping.
There you go.
Shameless plug of the evening.
And you can get online, check them out as well, sywilson.com.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, guys, we will end you with that, and y'all take care, and we will see you next week. Later.
Thank y'all.